All right, so I'm supposed to tease this podcast at the very beginning by giving you some enticing subjects so you listen to this. So you listen to a podcast about bras, right? You listen to a podcast about beers, right? How about bras and beers? That's what we're talking about today. This is Joe Ducey. This is the Joe Knows Better podcast coming to you from the wonderful podcast studio at the Better Business Bureau in Central Phoenix. And today we are talking about both of those subjects, but maybe more importantly, we're talking about who owns them. These are women-owned businesses that are very successful here in Arizona. Elaine Birks-Mitchell is the owner of Bra Recyclers in Gilbert. Something that was started in 2008, so you've been around a long time. Megan Greenwood is the owner of Greenwood Brewing in downtown Phoenix, started in 2017. So you too have been around and during COVID, and still both of you guys are around. Both of you ladies are around. I'm going to use guys, generically here, I think, but yeah. But so thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us.
And we also have Stephanie Tuttle, who is here with the Better Business Bureau, who's going to be able to provide a good perspective so that I won't have to be the one asking all the questions about bras and beers. Yeah, that's good. So, well, first of all, let me ask you about this, because we do talk about, and I think I know the answer because I looked at your websites, but let me ask you anyway. When we talk about women-owned business, are you tired of being introduced as a female-owned business or a female who owns a business? Is it gotten past that, do you think?
I think it has. Usually I don't hear that as much. So I'm glad to be a female-owned business and be around as long as we have as a female-owned business, particularly in the industry we're in.
Yeah.
I would say it's so rare. So it's less than 3% of brewing companies are solely owned by women in the country. So it kind of makes us stand out. Mm-hmm. But I know what you're saying, and I think that we're inching closer to not having to say that, and not having it be our story, our only part of our story. But for now, it's so unique. Mm-hmm. And then our head brewer is a woman, and it's less than 4% of the head brewers that are women in the whole country. So those are really small numbers, 3 and 4%.
Yeah.
So I think that became our story and what we were known for. And, but yeah, our goal and our business is to grow that statistic.
So let me ask you about the brewer. Was that purposeful, a woman, or was it the best you found and she happened to be a woman? How did that work out? Are you searching for someone, a female?
Oh, I love working with men. I love working with women. Yeah. And I found Kristen at a Pink Boots meeting, which is our industry women's group.
Pink Boots.
And and she,
Boots and bras and beers.
Boots and bras and beers, right.
They go together.
She was great. I loved her beer style, and it just worked. It just really fit. She's so I don't know that I was really looking for a woman, but when I found somebody who really fit the kind of beer that I wanted to brew, she was the one.
Okay.
And I think she does have a different style, I would say, than men. I think men and women do have different styles of brewing. They have different flavor profiles that they like, and sometimes it's the same, but there are sometimes that it's different.
So what are men beers and what are women beers? I'm not going to go there.
No, there's not that. It just might be something that like women are looking for that maybe it's not as important to men. For example, okay, so one thing is beer. When we have a beer that's in front of us, and let's say we're all drinking a beer because we all wish we were. Okay,
yes.
So
we're hoping that you bring the 6.
I know. So we have a 16-ounce pour, and if that 16-ounce pour gets warm, are you drinking it if it's warm? Are you drinking it if it's warm?
No.
Are you drinking it if it's warm?
If it's there, yeah, probably.
Yes. Okay, so we're just talking. The women in this group would say no. The only man that we have to talk about it would say yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like there are just different things.
I never thought about that.
The ways that we consume.
Well, it's like I'm going to drink until
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's there.
All right,
Drink
so we're going to talk more about your business. I've been there; it's a great place. Don't know as much about your business, Elaine, and we're going to talk about that too. And I guess it's a little different. It makes some sense being different in the brewing industry as a female. I don't know how many men are doing bra recycling.
Yeah, no.
So maybe more.
Not too many.
Right.
Textile recycling is a big, in terms of textile recycling, there's very few women that are owners, and it's a industry where it's very male driven. It has been for decades or centuries. It's an industry where people have been in it for generations. Their families have been in it. So when we decided to go this route, it was very interesting just to get information about the industry, because it's not a very transparent industry. It's not a very well-known industry. It's not one where you can just Google how do you start a textile recycling company.
Yeah.
So it was something, because we're a social enterprise. And so we started out with the idea we wanted to help women and girls who are transitioning either out of shelters or they're in shelters or programs. And we knew that underwear was just a big issue for many of these organizations trying to help these ladies. And so personally, I know that I had tons in my drawer, ladies. We buy them. We don't try them on. And they just sit there, and we don't take them back. Am I the only one?
Oh, my God. I talked to my wife about this. She says exactly the same thing. In fact, I have some questions for
Absolutely. So I knew I wanted to. I was supporting some local organizations anyway, and I'm like, a great friend I knew was with Cass actually, and I'm like, what do you need? How can we help you more? I said, do you need bras? I got about a dozen with tags sitting in my drawer.
Coming from both of your backgrounds, how scary was it to get into these industries? I mean, you're coming from trying to be in textile that's male dominated, brewing male dominated. Like how much did that kind of like take your personalities into question, or I mean, how much confidence did you have to have going into it, or did you just say, you know what, let's just try it, see what happens, and kind of go from there?
Yeah, for me, I think it was, I came out of a very male-dominated industry. I was in IT. So I was in project management, software development. So I was used to being in a very male-dominated industry anyway. So I guess I'm like, okay, let's try another one that's hard. But it was challenging because, again, it was something I knew nothing about. And I really had to try to make new contacts, make connections, try to see if I can even find out information. And it was interesting. There was not a lot of sharing going on. So I learned the hard way. I didn't have a strategy in how I would price. I had to get vendors who we would buy and sell from. So it was very difficult. But I think for us, because we were a social enterprise and we had this ideal that we had a bigger purpose, where we're trying to help others, I think that drove me, and that continues to drive me. That it's not all just about profit. It's about, we have a purpose. We're trying to help these ladies, get underwear.
And maybe before you answer, Megan, let me go to this a little bit. We'll talk about your business a little bit since we have the video here. Then we'll go into, I want to talk about Megan's business here. But let me play this. This is, what are we seeing here?
So this is actually my husband and I work together in the business.
Yeah.
And this is at our warehouse over in Gilbert.
Okay.
And he's sorting. So we are, in this particular scene, we are getting ready to box up and work with 7 schools right now, 7 Title I schools. And that's something new for us.
Wow.
But we found out that there's such a huge issue. So he's sorting, getting the boxes together and ready to package up so we can take over to our schools.
And how much of that goes on, like on a daily basis or a weekly basis or monthly, however you want to do it? How much?
It goes on on a daily basis.
Okay.
We're constantly getting shipments in. We're constantly getting packages actually from people around the country who literally mail into us.
Wow.
But again, we also partner with retailers who are more responsibly disposing of their overstock and returns, and those come into us too.
So people bring in, all right, when you think about bra recycling, is reusing bras?
Yes,
Is this,
reusing,
I looked on your
absolutely.
website, it wasn't like taking the materials and making them into turf for a lawn or whatever.
No, we're focused on reuse, but we do partner with a local textile recycler here who has machines that will actually upcycle. Now, bras they're very difficult to recycle in terms of upcycling or turning into other products because of all the parts and pieces. But anything that doesn't have the wires or plastic pieces we can do. So,
Yeah. And this is you
yes,
talking about
that's me.
your business with the boxes in the back.
Yeah.
For people who can't see it. Is that your van that you bring?
It
around
is,
in?
yeah. So we have a location we pick up from, a PO box that it's just amazing what comes in from people all over the country. And then for larger packages, we also have a bigger warehouse over here in Phoenix. We work with EpiHab. I don't know if people are familiar with them, but they work with individuals who have disabilities, and they do all of our sorting. It has been an amazing partnership. I can't even tell you. Our business is very labor intensive. And so it's really hard to find good workers.
Yeah.
And so they've been amazing partners for us.
So, all right. So when people bring in, say they want to, their bras, they have to be in good condition.
Yeah.
They have to be washed. They have to, then you decide where they go. And
We do. We have a whole sorting process. Again, that's where we use EpiHab. And it's interesting in the textile recycling industry. Things are they're by grades, is what we call it, and basically that's quality. Looking at the quality. So, what we don't use to donate, we have other textile recyclers or clothing exporters who purchase from us. So that's the revenue side of what we do. We get in truckloads of things. So, a lot of them cannot be donated. A lot of them are not. The quality, or we get a lot of sexy things into that's not. We're trying to keep the ladies off the street, not on the street. So we don't donate certain things out to people. So it's we have the revenue side of what we do is that other textile recyclers buy our excess because they mix it in with their clothing. I think if I ever have to describe a textile recycler, a lot of people don't think about this, but Goodwill is one of the largest textile recyclers in the world. We don't call them that. They don't market that way.
Yeah.
But think about it, they are.
Yeah.
And a lot of other textile recyclers buy from them because they get such volume in, and a lot of what they get in, they sell out. So, but people just don't think about them as a textile recycler.
Okay.
And what happens to the clothes that you have to turn away? Do you send them back to the person that gave it to you?
No, we try to recycle them if we can. So again, we partner up. We want to try to reuse if possible, but then we also have a textile recycler who can shred. And actually, one of the products they turn them into is punching bags.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so amazing what they do with some of this stuff, like plastic bottles.
Absolutely.
I see them into shirts. That they turn them into. It's amazing what they do.
Absolutely.
Let me talk to Megan a little bit about your business, and we'll see if we can get the video up here. Hopefully, but explain a little bit about what we talked about. The female owned part of that. And I want to go into a little bit more of that, but also just what you do. Has your business grown over time? How have you made that happen? And are you constantly looking for new ways to increase what you have there, or how do you gain, I guess, more people, or do you need more people? It seems crowded every time I go by.
Yeah. We always need more people.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So when we started, I started in 2017. So at that time, I was the only employee of Greenwood. So the brewer, the cellar woman, the delivery driver, the salesperson, the businesswoman, that was all me. Yeah. And so when I'd go and I'd try to sell my beer to a location, I would say, "Hi, my name is Megan Greenwood, and I'd love to show my beer to you and see if you'd put it on your menu." And they would say, "Oh, I'm totally full." And I would be like, "Well, I'm a woman-owned business, and I'm a woman-owned brewing company, and all my brewers are women," even though that was just one of one.
Yeah.
And they would... they'd be like, "Okay, sure, 10 minutes on Friday," because it was such a unique story.
Yeah.
And so then that was kind of me figuring out that my story was my power in this world.
Yeah.
And so then, so from there, I found our location, secured a loan, self-funded our downtown Phoenix brewery. And then our downtown Phoenix brewery, is cranking. It's a great spot. And we can always do better, but my future, I come from an engineering background. I worked at manufacturing facilities for about 10 years before I started Greenwood. And so my goal was always production brewing and distribution, nationwide, hopefully. And so first you have to start in Arizona. So we started distribution in 2021 and have slowly grown that. We're in some really iconic stores.
I'm going to show a little bit of your brewery right now.
Our brewery.
Yeah, with that loud sound. But look how cool this is. Where we,
nice.
Look at the outside area there. It's just so nice. and you got the two buildings, and then I mean, people must love that. Now during the summer, I'm sure it's a little harder to get people there, but you have umbrellas, and inside you have a lot of space as well.
Yeah. We have. It's always a challenge in the summer.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're in Arizona, and we love having the space outside, especially for this time of year.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Really nice.
Yeah.
How much does COVID affect like your business? Like during that whole part of your business, especially starting in 2017. So I'm assuming like just growing and growing. And then did you come to a stop in 2020?
We were actually just opening in 2020.
Oh,
so
wow.
We were opening our brewery. So we were supposed to open in March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up having to wait as long as we could and then opened in July of 2020. So, yeah, I mean, it took half our business. I mean, it took our business completely, shut down our business completely.
Yeah.
All of our customers, when I started Greenwood, I wanted to really grow our distribution channels right away because when we opened our downtown Phoenix location, I really wanted to focus on the downtown Phoenix location and not and then have our distribution really crank on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But COVID, it wiped out all of our distribution. So there was we had nothing. We had none of our customers were open.
Right.
So we had to start back from ground zero when we opened our doors, which was challenging. The first few years were tough.
Yeah.
But now we are, those are in the past. We look, we're grateful for the experience, but we're really glad that we're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now my goal is to find new forms of revenue. So I've always really wanted to drive this distribution path, but I love the idea of opening up new locations.
Yes.
And
new locations.
Yeah, new locations.
Where?
Yeah. Well,
When?
well, if you know
What's your
anybody,
goal?
you let me know.
Okay. We talked about ambers. The beer, you have an amber beer.
I have an amber beer.
Yeah. So anybody out there like us who are into ambers or reds, that's where you want to go because that's good.
It is good beer.
And we talked about, do you have to, you constantly have to check what people's, I mean, I guess you monitor how many kegs, go for which beers, correct? And then can you push one more than another? How do you have to look over tastes and then develop more in that area, or do you how does that work?
Well, the numbers tell you right away whether something's moving or not.
Yeah.
So so I have a beer that comes out now that's called the Cold IPA. And that beer, it is on my tap list on April 1st normally, and it's off my tap list by April 30th. It's so fast. My amber in that same time, I might have an amber that takes 6 months for the same amount of beer. But I fight this fight with our customers too, because our customers that have 18 or 30 taps, we're always like, you need to have something that's unique for your amber drinker or your stout drinker or your drinker that's looking for a light beer that's full flavored, because they're going to not drink a beer. They're not going to drink a beer if you don't have what they're looking for. Yeah. So you might lose the wholesale.
Talking to you about my wife and I walking out of places if they don't have the amber beer.
Exactly. So you might lose those people if you don't have what's something good on your menu. And so we fight that fight on our customer side. Now I fight that fight in my tap room. I try to make sure we always have a good amber.
Okay.
So you always shoot for diversity, for sure.
I do, yeah. I mean, I know that beer will take longer, but I know there are people that come in just for those styles.
Right.
That's a tough thing. Yeah, to keep those on, even if they're not maybe selling as much. But
yes.
Let's switch this up a little bit and talk about entrepreneurs and people starting businesses now, and especially women. I'm going to let you guys decide who wants to talk, but maybe back and forth about some things, some advice you'd give them going through what you've gone through.
Wow. Well, there's several. I mean, starting a business as a woman or a man, I think there's not a whole lot of difference. I think the industry makes a difference. Again, like for us, it just was something that it was very unknown. So one of the things that I would suggest for any business owner or anybody wanting to start a business is understand the industry. That is key. We had to really dig deep. One of the key things that we did, since we didn't know about the industry, is we joined associations. So we joined the Textile Recycling Associations. I got on the board because, again, I was trying to make those connections, learn about the industry, learn and see if I can gather information from people that I knew. That was like really critical for me to do that. I think also just having a really good business plan. Take your time and do that. Take classes at the BBB, join, get involved with some of the like Empower programs. I went through that, and that was amazing to be able to do that. So I think, again, one of the things for me, again, as a social enterprise, we really honed in on trying to solve an issue that we found in the community. And I think that was a big driver for us as an entrepreneur, is that we saw this issue. We wanted to solve it, and we used entrepreneurial principles to solve it. So that was, again, that's we're so very purpose driven. So that really drives us. So I'm finding that a lot of younger people now are really interested in being more social entrepreneurs, or they're building that and integrating that into what they do. And I think what we're seeing also with millennials, they're looking to align themselves and spend their money with businesses that have a purpose.
Okay.
So I think that's real important as you're starting a business. Start with that in mind. Build that in. How are you going to give back? Make sure you're letting people know that. How are you supporting the community? Because people want to know that. They want to align with people that are doing good.
And we're going to get into one of the programs that BBB offers for that in a minute here. But I want to hear from Megan just about your thoughts on entrepreneurs, startups, and I guess female startups as well.
Yeah, I think one big thing that I always hear whenever I'm out at women's groups is access to capital. And I'm actually going through it right now. And it reminds me of when I was looking for the loan when I was starting Greenwood. And I think I reached out to over 50 banks to find somebody who would be willing to lend me money. And at the end of the day, I ended up with a bank in Atlanta it was a young, like, whippersnapper girl. She was, just this really energetic woman who was similar to me, who saw my vision and was willing to help me get this product. It was, at the end of the day, it was an SBA 7A loan. Probably 45 of the 50 banks that I talked to all had this product available to give to me, and she made it happen.
Okay.
And so I think
getting hold of the right person at the right place.
Well, as much as I go through a lot of scenarios where I don't think I'm treated differently as a woman, in banking and with lending money, it is the number one problem that I hear about when I'm talking to female entrepreneurs is getting access to capital. And I think half these people wouldn't even respond to my voicemail. They're banks. This is what they're meant to do.
Wow.
And so I say to that, if you're having challenges, reach out to me, because I have some great people who would lend you money. Ultimately, my loan that I received 3.5 years ago is almost completely paid off 3.5 years later. So she's like, when can I lend you more money?
Yeah.
But it is really, really challenging. And I think sometimes it's that we might be thought of as too youthful or inexperienced, or that, and it's mostly because there's not a lot of women asking for money. So
True.
The more people the more women we get asking for money, and the more businesses that are super successful, that are having these conversations, is only going to make it easier for the next people. So, but yeah, you have to get somebody in your corner who's willing to take a risk. So I would say that's a great point. Yeah, my biggest.
And it's interesting because for us, I self-funded. So I was working, for the longest, and then I wanted to prove the model out first. I mean, as a social entrepreneur, just that whole model in itself, people didn't understand. But so I self-funded, and I really didn't want to do loans. So I wanted to see if I can fund myself, and so we took that route. So if you can do that, but I know you have a lot more capital involved in terms of starting a brewery and the equipment and things like that. We didn't have that as much. So
it's interesting to hear these things. So it's basically developing a business plan. It's knowing, hopefully, you're going to be able to get capital, or finding those ways to try to get the capital you need, because in many cases you do need that.
Yeah, and I would just say one more thing to that is, So absolutely the business plan. So when I started Greenwood, I was self-funding and building it all on my own. When you're building an inventory-based product, you have to have inventory. You have to have the product.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, but I started very, very lean and very, very small. I think my revenue that I generated for the first 2 years was under $100,000 total for my first 2 years. Okay. So it was very small, but because I started that way where I had a proof of concept, I had customers buying the product, the SBA saw me as an expansion versus a startup. So when they see you as an expansion, now you're expanding your brewery, it's way less risky for them because you already have established a business. And it's kind of like checking the boxes for them. You're seen as an expansion, check, versus startup, check, which they just have less money to give to startups, especially a big risky one that's trying to borrow $1 million. But if you're seen as an expansion, you will have a better chance to get that money from the SBA. So if there's a way to start lean, start small, get your proof of concept, get your business plan figured out, and then go out and secure a loan.
I love what you said about the proof of concept, because what we did, because again, we're very unusual in terms of our business. So what I did, just again, coming out of that whole IT background, the first thing I did was I created a web page, because I'm like, okay, are women, do they have the same issue I have with all these bras in their drawer? So I literally put up a web page to see if I got a response. And I got a huge response. I'm like, oh, God, I'm on to something here. So that was, how I was trying to prove it out and see if it was even going to be something people would even, jump on the bandwagon. And then also trying to approach, retailers to say, hey, we have a more responsible way. That was the toughest part of what we had to do, because again, at that time, it's cheaper for retailers to throw in the landfill than to recycle. Because again, recycling is not free. And I think that's a lot of times people don't understand that. So I love that what you said about proof of concept. Make sure as a new business owner, you're trying that out. Even now with social media, because it's much bigger and stronger now than in 2008. But we did that too. But put things out there, see what kind of response you get, because that's a great way to try things out and see if it's going to work.
I want to go to one of the programs. You kind of mentioned social values and things before, and I think one of the programs that's important to you, you're part of it, is BBB for Good. So I talked with Christina Hook, who's the Senior Director of Brand Strategies and Social Impact with the Better Business Bureau. And I asked her to explain BBB for Good. And she says a few years ago, they noticed a trend of consumers wanting to spend their money with businesses that correspond to their values, and making communities, a better place. And so I asked her to kind of explain what that was all about here.
In March of 2023, we launched BBB for Good, our social responsibility trust mark to elevate BBB accredited businesses incorporating a higher purpose into their mission. In addition to meeting the BBB 8 standards for trust, these purpose-driven businesses also commit to 4 standards that exemplify their social impact. These encompass a higher purpose, community engagement, authentic marketing, and examples of their social impact or how they protect their environment. The businesses verified for the BBB for Good trust mark meet these standards in a variety of ways, such as donating proceeds, hiring or serving marginalized communities, volunteering for the betterment of a specific cause, protecting our environment, and so much more. BBB for Good also empowers consumers to find these companies by searching for purpose-driven businesses on bbb.org and by looking for the BBB for Good trust mark on a business profile.
So you can go to bbb.org/BBB4Good, the number 4 good, to find out about the businesses and to apply to be one of those businesses. And you can see the logo as well. And I know you're part of that. And I think it's a great thing that BBB's doing.
I do too.
And I think, do you see, and maybe both of you see, and I know in your business for sure, the social changes that are happening, maybe with the younger people as well. Is that impacting your business? Do you see that?
I feel like there's always a question of, here's your beer and what? I feel like, and so we do in the month of March, right, is we donate $1 of every beer that we sell of her story, Pale Ale, to women's foundations throughout Phoenix.
It's Women's Month, right?
Women's
Yeah,
Month.
Women's Month in March. We are recording this in March.
Yeah.
Yes. So I do think it's not just the young people either. I think
Sure.
it's
I agree.
it's like, here's the beer and what's the star next to it that's giving back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you think people expect that in a way.
Yeah,
I
they
think
do.
so.
I think they do. I know we have an ambassador program. And so our ambassador program works with other businesses
Yeah.
and businesses that want to give back. They're not sure how to give back. They want to give back in some way. So we have businesses that are drop-off locations for us, or they might do a broad drive. One of our longest partners is Soma Intimate Stores. They have 300 stores around the country. So they're drop-off locations for us. So it's a win-win because you bring a bra in, get $10 off a new bra. So it's a win-win for the businesses too, for both of us. And it's also a win for their customers because their customers want to figure out a way to give back. So by bringing in a bra, they're winning too. They're getting a discount, but they're also helping one in terms of not having that go into the landfill, and also helping in terms of, providing that to a woman or girl in need. So it's there. People are looking for those opportunities to do that. And I think because we're in that kind of sustainability industry, and now retailers are trying to jump on board because they know they need to do something. One thing that was really important, I think, for new entrepreneurs is really important, is that we collect a lot of data. I'm a data girl since I come out of IT, and we collect a lot of data that we can then play back to the retailers in terms of, here's your environmental impact of all the bras that were collected either by your customers or by you. And we do a scorecard that they can post either internally or in social media to let their customers know, here's the impact we're making on the environment. So instead of this going into landfill, we figured out a more responsible way to get rid of our overstock and returns.
Well, go
I
ahead.
think too, we live in this world now where you have to create a culture in your business.
You do.
And
Yes.
it's for your internal staff as much as it is for your customers as well. For your staff to feel a connection to their community and to what
Absolutely.
they're doing. And this Gen Z that's coming up is even louder.
Yes,
is
they
even
are.
louder
They
about
are.
that.
Which is great.
Which is
'cause
great.
It is. It's great.
Gen Z.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, it is.
I'm also wondering, like, with the BBB for Good program, I mean, you're doing something that's sustainable. You're doing something that's like a good social impact. When you saw that program kind of come to fruition, started to get like grounds, when did you look internally and say, okay, I need to get verified? I absolutely need to be BBB for Good verified. That is something that aligns with our business. We need to do this now. Like, at what point did you say, you know what? Let's get it. Let's be a part of this program.
Yeah, I remember when it first even started talking about it, and actually they approached me with that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is really good, because I'm part of another group called the Social Enterprise Alliance. But coming from the BBB, I mean, for them to take that stance and like, we need to put these businesses out here that are doing good, I'm like, oh my God, this will be amazing. Again, because when people are looking for someone that's doing good, now we have that stamp of approval. Because I'm telling you, it's been really challenging. I'm not going to lie. In being a social enterprise, particularly here in the United States, it's still a model a lot of people don't understand. It's a model that people think if you're doing good, you shouldn't be making money. And I've had people literally tell me that. I've had people say, I will not give you my bra because you are a for-profit company. I'd rather throw it away.
Wow.
I'm like, really? Okay.
Social
So-
impact goes out the window.
That's a hard thing to fight.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah.
those people, how do you fight that? I mean,
You can either try to debate with
Right.
them, but a lot of times it's just,
Yeah.
okay, you kind of just let that go. But
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that there is that mindset that just because you're trying to do good,
Yeah.
you shouldn't make money. And I try to, always use goodwill. I'm like, I'd love to make what Goodwill's CEO makes. I mean, so they're doing good and they're making a lot of money.
Wouldn't that be great if the good companies were the ones making money?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. So that, it is interesting because that has been a challenge, I think, for us. And one of the reasons we have a nonprofit arm that we started 2 years ago, Crazy Me. But that was a challenge too, is because we were coming across many retailers who would not work with us because we weren't a nonprofit. And if that's the only excuse you're going to use on why you won't recycle, be more responsible, we wanted to take that argument off the table. But also one of the reasons we wanted to start it is because we wanted to start working with the schools. And it was a lot easier to get more support working with the schools to have that nonprofit arm. But it's been interesting that when we started that nonprofit arm, we were able to get some of those larger, very large companies to now all of a sudden say, we're willing to recycle with you.
Oh.
How interesting that you go between the for-profit and nonprofit. And that's just like any other boundary of, okay, well, I'm a beer owner.
Exactly.
And then as soon as you say, no, I'm a female owned. Oh, okay. Now we can start listening.
Absolutely.
And I feel like there's so many barriers that you have to cross no matter what way you go.
Absolutely.
And you have to add in that little extra seal.
Well, in some ways, it almost becomes, like you were saying before, a little bit of a positive thing because it intrigues people a little bit that maybe if somebody else was there, it wouldn't be as, okay, yeah, that's great. But now I also, not only do you have all these other things, you're also a female owner in a business that's typically not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's our story, and from what we've heard, it resonates. But, my goal with it is to get more women in this position,
Yeah, it's going to be great.
All right. Guys, you've been great. Ladies, you've been great. I really appreciate your time here. And if to go to your websites, like Megan, Greenwood Brewing is on Roosevelt.
Yes.
In downtown Phoenix, and website is
greenwoodbrews.com.
greenwoodbrews.com. Okay, and Bra Recycling,
recyclers.com. So you can go on there. You can also find drop-off locations all around the country and actually all in the valley also.
All right.
So
do you ever get like, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say this, but do you ever get like bras that aren't clean? You get like,
absolutely.
The summer in Phoenix is kind of tough, man. People sweat. Women do too.
We get a lot. We get a lot of crazy things. You would not believe some of the things we get.
But you take care of that. You make sure you guide them out.
We do.
You donate your bra, and then you'll get a beer.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
We do have people who've done
I
that.
think it's great.
You could do a co-op together.
I love this idea.
Bras and beers.
Bras and Beers Festival. I'll be there.
Bras and beers.
We'll have to follow up with you guys.
That's right.
All right. Well, you can also go to joeknowsbetter.bbbcommunity.org to see all the things that we're doing here. I'm Joe Ducey, helping businesses and consumers get it right. We'll see you next time. Before hiring, go to bbb.org, check reviews, and for accredited businesses that agree to operate ethically. And see all my podcasted videos, joeknowsbetter.bbbcommunity.org.